So I interned with a bunch of startups here in New Delhi. I then got an opportunity to intern at ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization in Ahmedabad. Right, I got the opportunity through a hackathon there. Then I also participated in GSOC in 2019 under the mentorship of Harvard University. So like I used to do open source contributions, and I was able to contribute to a Meteor JS based project. Currently in Google, I'm in the Google Pay India consumer team. So whenever you pay someone in Google Pay, at least I've read that code, or you might have interacted with my code as well. And in case your transactions were blocked 2 years ago, please don't kill me about that. I was not involved then. Four people referred me on the same day. Fun
Awesome.
fact, after getting selected, my referral bonus, because if you refer someone, you get a referral bonus. My
Yeah.
referral bonus was distributed among four people. In software engineering, in my opinion, more than 50% of the time is debugging. You write
Yeah.
very less code. Stop writing bullshit code. If you screw up, there are days when you are like, I am having a low BP. They will kick me out because I screwed this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chakde interview series. And we have today a very special guest, Sanket Singh. So he's SD2 at Google and he have worked with many tech company and previously he have worked with LinkedIn also. So I'm glad to have him on the platform to talk about the system, talk about the interview, talk about the expectation when you join the company, and much more. With that, without wasting a time, I wanted to call Sanket. Hey, Sanket, good to have you over here, man.
Hey, hi, Chirag. I'm glad to be on your channel and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I hope the people who are watching this, they will be getting a lot of insight from the discussion that we are going to have today. Okay.
Definitely.
Before I we start our lot of discussion that we have to do, why don't you briefly talk about your journey starting from your college? How did you basically ended up into Google?
So basically, if you talk about my college, if you are not from North India, most probably you might not have heard about my college. And even, for example, you are not from Delhi, then there is a highly likely chance that you might have not heard about my college. So I graduated in 2020 from Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology. I joined the college as an IT grad, but then upgraded my branch to CSE. So that was my first achievement in college. Uh, so in college, I participated into a lot of activities. I started doing internships quite early, I believe. For example, I did my first software engineering internship in my third semester only. I believe that gave me a good kick. I used to make sure that every semester I do at least one internship that can be and it should be technical. If it is, even if it is not a software engineering internship, maybe some technical teaching assistant kind of a thing, but still there should be something technical involved. And since third semester, I generally made that sure. So I interned with a bunch of startups here in New Delhi. I then got an opportunity to intern at ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization in Ahmedabad. Right, I got the opportunity through a hackathon there. Then I also participated in GSOC in 2019 under the mentorship of Harvard University. So like I used to do open source contributions, and I was able to contribute to a Meteor JS based project. That was kind of like a fun learning, and to be very honest, one of my first clean code journey that stop writing bullshit code. Nobody accepts
Yeah.
that. So that's when I realized, okay, clean code is also something that you should try to learn about. Post that, I interned with Interview Bit. Did very small time of full time work there as well during COVID and my eighth semester, and then finally joined LinkedIn as a full stack software engineer. In LinkedIn, I was in the enterprise provisioning team. So if at any point of time, for example, if you have applied any job at LinkedIn, you might have interfaced through my code. Then I joined Google. Currently in Google, I'm in the Google Pay India consumer team. So whenever you pay someone in Google Pay, at least I've read that code, or you might have interacted with my code as well. And in case your transactions were blocked 2 years ago, please don't kill me about that. I was not involved then. So yeah, this was brief journey about me.
Awesome, awesome. I can see, Sangeet, like your journey is very interesting. Where actually you have put a lot of effort in order to come where you are today, right?
Yeah.
And I also see you have a lot of passion in order to teach people, and hence you have done a lot of internship in all of these tech, you can say companies and tech. Basically, what I meant by yeah, that is awesome. So now I think people are very much looking into hearing from you, boss. Can you tell me your interview journey? How did you get into the Google? What from starting from your resume and getting the final offer letter?
So, like interviewing at Google was a good fun journey. Why it was fun journey? Because I was not looking for a actual shift. There was some location issues here and there, but it was like it, that I was not actively applying. I still remember that I only applied to two companies, Google and Bloomberg London. So what happened was, like, I knew that Google has started hiring, and it's around early 2021. At that point of time, it was not like extreme hiring boom just like 2022. It was a slow mid-paced hiring, right? So then what I did was, I actually tried to look out for referrals, because even going to LinkedIn, I was able to understand that calls might not come directly. So I started looking for referrals, and eventually what happened was four people referred me on the same day. Like,
Oh,
what I used to do was, I had a template. I just used to send them on LinkedIn, spam everyone's message, and then in a day, three people from LinkedIn referred me, and there was a friend of mine with whom I worked earlier. He also referred me on the same day. So four people referred me on the same day. Fun
awesome.
fact: after getting selected, my referral bonus, because if you refer someone, you get a referral bonus. My
Yeah.
referral bonus was distributed among four people. Yeah,
Oh,
because
that
like,
is lucky that it got distributed because in many company first
yeah,
come
first,
first
yeah,
serve
but it
basis.
got distributed because, like, because everyone thought that, okay, if he got selected, then maybe some bucks they will get, but they thought that, oh, it's very less. How come this is very less? Then they inquired and realized that, okay, many people referred this guy. So after getting a referral, I believe, like, and most, apart from one of the friend who was a friend of mine, he was a L4. Rest everyone was L5 or L6, like managers
Hmm.
or engineering
Yeah.
managers kind of people who referred me. I believe their referral actually makes a good impact, because then
Yeah.
there's a high chance that you get a call. Then I got a call from the interviewer that, okay, we are interested to set up your interviews. When can you start? I said, Kal rak do hai," like, you can just do it tomorrow. Because as I said, like, I was not like actively interviewing. So I was like, even if things won't go well, then things are in a good place at LinkedIn. I was extremely happy at LinkedIn, extremely happy. So then they said that, okay, tomorrow is very early for us, because we also have to do the scheduling. And then I said that, whatever is the first schedule that you have, I'll take it. So I had my interviews 2 days back to back.
Okay.
2 days I kept back to back, because in one day they were not able to complete. So I got four data structures and algorithmics round, and one googliness round. That's a non-technical kind of a round, right?
Mhm.
uh, and all the rounds, no nonsense. Some of the rounds, people didn't even ask for my name or my profile or introduction. Like, there were rounds where people didn't even ask that, okay, please introduce yourself, because most of the time you will see people ask that, right? They were like, oh, you got a Google Doc link? I said yes, open it. And they pasted the question and start. So in, like, first day I had two rounds, second day I had three rounds. So in the first two rounds, again, pure data structures algorithms above lead. I would mark few questions above lead code hard. Graphs DP. It was like one round, both questions graph. Next round, both questions DP. Same thing happened in the next day. First round, both questions graph. Second round, both questions DP. And it was like, you have to give the approach of both of them. At least code one, and second could be, if you code it, it's good, because of already the problem level was pretty high, right? Like, I
Mhm.
still remember there was a three-dimensional DP question. There was a questions on Dijkstra's and an optimization through Dijkstra's. So one or few graph questions were there, like inequality resolution was there. I had been given inequalities, and then you have to figure out that how this will be solved. All of these things. So I sailed through, I believe, somehow. Uh,
Yeah.
and then there was a googliness round. They, like, that's a normal non-technical round to understand your capabilities, your few other things, soft skills and everything. And then I believe, like, at that point of time in 2021, what used to happen was, after your interviews, your packet used to go to hiring managers. If somebody
Mhm.
selects, then they used to release the offer letter. I believe that was the process.
Yeah.
So I guess the first hiring manager they gave, that hiring manager accepted my packet, and we had a hiring manager call and post that, like, this process took around 2.5 weeks. Within 2.5 weeks, I guess, I got a call back from a manager, and he mentioned that it is, like, ahead of time. Otherwise they were expecting at least 2 months they can take. And then once the hiring manager call was there, I believe within 5 days I got the offer letter.
Got it.
My process was
Uh,
pretty fast when you compare to how processes were done in Google in 2021. Uh, of course, in 2022 they were even more faster, but with respect to our 2021 process, my process was relatively fast.
Awesome. So basically, if I can sense from what you said, irrespective of either that is front end or the back end, when you are getting into the Google, most of the time your interview process is going to be the same. If I'm correct.
Yeah, like in Google there is a separate profile. There is a UXC profile that is more focused on front end, where they will ask you less algorithmic questions and more front end oriented question, but that's a different ladder. It's a different thing than software engineering. There's a package difference as well. But if you come for a software engineer role, then you give a generic round. Then based on what team you get allocated to, it will decide whether you are a backend engineer, front end engineer, or a full stack engineer. So in Google things, because like the Google tech that you do, it's pretty different from what's present currently outside. So it doesn't matter if you are a pro in Flutter, if you are a pro in React, when you will come inside, things might be pretty different than what you have already heard. So I believe
So
there is a general scale on which they judge you.
got it. So basically, you can be asked to work on anything depending on which project, which team basically
Yes,
you go.
yes, yes.
Awesome. This is very interesting. Just I think wanted to highlight one thing as you talked about UXC. So I know definitely, as you said, the package difference is there and whatnot. On top of it, the expectation when you go into that, the first round itself is a machine coding round where people ask you, oh, give you some problem statement. Can you code in pure vanilla JavaScript and whatnot? That is one difference, and definitely there is some data structure which
Yeah,
is
less
which
algorithmic rounds. There are lesser
which
algorithmic rounds.
Google is always going to ask you irrespective of whichever profile you go
Yes,
for.
yes. Because, like, again, as I said, the systems internally are pretty different than what you do in startups or personal projects or open source. So that's why they need a generic and a level playing field for everyone. It's like that.
Awesome, awesome. I think one which everyone wanted to hear is there any system design round
At
basically?
least for L3 roles, there are no
Yeah,
system design rounds. For L4 roles, depending on, like, I believe, hiring pace to hiring pace, there you can expect a design round as well.
got it. Anything that you wanted to talk about in terms of expectation people have in system design round?
I believe it depends on how much experience you are already having, because I
Mhm.
believe in Google people are pretty much chill about the fact that, of course, if you have 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience, then your design skills are going to be different than somebody having 6 years of experience, right?
Right.
So I believe it's all about that. Have you actually made, like, if you have ever written any design docs, if you have ever actually made some system discussions, then done some system discussions with a few people, then it already reflects in your interview. So I believe that's something that Googlers very easily judge when they're interviewing anyone.
Awesome.
So I believe that's something that you should keep in your mind.
Awesome. I think this was something which is very interesting. Depending on your level, you can expect your system design, and obviously, depending on what kind of work, how much
Yeah,
experience you're holding,
yeah.
your your expectations and system design round is
You will be
going to be
judged based on that.
will be just. And I hope most of the time it is also what kind of work you have done, your system design expectations, and the kind of question that comes from your past
Yeah,
background
I
also.
have also seen this. For example, like not only just this, that based on your past work, they give you a system design. In fact, the team that the interviewer belongs,
You are got
sometimes they
it.
ask question related to that. For example, this is separate from Google. Like one of my friend interviewed for Microsoft. They were in, somehow related to the commerce part. They
Mhm.
asked the system design related to e-commerce and like relatively
Yeah.
this space. I interviewed for Bloomberg London, and that particular manager, because most of the things there is related to stocks and everything. So the interview question of system design that was asked to me was related to the team of the specific person only, right? So I have seen whether the work that you have done and what you might be doing if you get selected decides what you will be asked.
That brings to a very interesting thing I can recall, which is nowadays very smart interviewers started doing one important thing, which is they ask you the system design problem statement which they are trying to solve
Yeah,
or their team is going trying
yeah,
to solve, where they get a fresh perspective from the interview boss. Maybe he may give you another
another,
direction to
yeah.
think, boss, you're stuck, but someone is coming and giving you a solution in the as a part of the interview. That is also an awesome way to actually evaluate if you did the justice
Yeah, I guess
in
this is
your
also a
system.
pattern that you can regularly observe. Yeah.
Yep, that is awesome. So now we talked about, okay, boss, you finally get into the Google. That is one part. You went into DSA, you worked hard, you went into the machine design, coding and whatnot. You understood system design. You worked on that. You join Google. Now, what is the expectation that company is going to have you as a software engineer when you join the company? Because no more direct DSAs, right? No more direct machine coding thing is going to be as, oh, tell me this and that. The life is going to be different. Like how that changes.
uh, I believe in Google, when you join Google, at least for software engineer role, I can tell that expectations are pretty much clearly defined. That at least in your initial year, you are asked to code. Like your coding part is going to be heavy. And after maybe some months, you are expected to start doing system designing, writing design docs, dedicated design docs that will be owned by you, reviewing other design docs. So I believe how life changed, not only just by getting into Google, but by getting into like full-time work was, apart from just writing code, I had to look at other people code, right? For example, in Google, like there's a humongous code base that we already have. At any point of time, if I'm stuck that, okay, how to do something with this particular class, the first instance that I get into my mind is somebody must have already done it.
True.
Let's not be the Superman here. Let's look at somebody who has submitted their code, what similar stuff they did. This really helps while writing unit tests, to be very honest.
Yeah.
Like my pure experience, if you're writing unit test, trust me, it's a pain for the initial 10 tests that you write, and this kind of a activity helps. So I believe rather than doing DSA and everything, and rather than even writing more code, more time is getting spent in reading other people code.
Hmm.
Apart from that, I believe it could have been taught to me by somebody who was teaching me in college or something, that in software engineering, in my opinion, more than 50% of the time is debugging. You write
Yeah.
very less code. If I actually see, if my design document is ready, it is approved by my team lead, my manager, and the remaining folks who are involved in the project, coding it is relatively easy. Coding part
Yeah.
is relatively easy. But when something comes for debugging, that there is a bug you have to solve, that's more painful for me most of the
Yeah.
time. So debugging, I believe nobody told, because generally you do your own projects, and I believe most of the people in college, they just look at some YouTube tutorial or some course tutorial, and then they just try to do copy pasting. I don't say that that's a bad thing to do, but I believe when you actually contribute to bigger systems, maybe indulge yourself in some open source contribution activities, or actually do some internship, then you realize that reading other people code can be more painful than writing your own code, and debugging through that
100%.
code is going to be more painful. Because like for example, at LinkedIn, I believe that there was a very good system of logs. There were very dedicated logs that backend engineers used to put. But it's good when you're putting it. If some bug comes up and you have to read the log file, oh man, like you need a cup of tea after 30 minutes to get your brain refreshed, right? So I
Yeah.
believe second thing that changed was debugging became a partner in life kind of a thing. Third thing, I believe more focus is done on writing cleaner code, so that people who are reviewing your code has a easier life.
Yeah.
I believe somewhere in my early college days, I read that your commits should not be too big or too small. They should be of ideal size. I believe that makes sense, because when reviewers are reading and you post a 600 line code change, nobody is gonna look at it and ask you to refactor it,
Yeah.
right? So I believe writing cleaner code, at least moving towards it. I'm not sure how clean code I write. That can be a third person perspective, but at least you have to start moving towards it. You have to read other people's PR, that how they are creating variables and everything. And one more interesting thing that I learned was, in whatever file you are changing, try to use the patterns already going on in those files. For example,
Yeah. Yeah.
if they are using, for example, there can be two different services owned by two different teams. In one service, if they are using snake case, in one service, if they are using camel case, don't put your smart brain into the game, and
Don't argue.
don't argue. Oh, you saw. Doesn't matter what you saw. What's going on in that file and majorly that package, try to follow
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Don't scratch anyone's head that, okay, why this is going on. It's like a coding pattern that they adopted. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of things changed. I believe a lot of times when you actually make your own projects, personal projects, you use third party libraries, for example Bootstrap or MUI, where you just inherit the components, just use the components directly. While working full time, I realized that I had to make my own widgets and components.
Yeah.
That was a truly crazy game for me because I had to design it somehow that everyone can use it. That was
Hmm.
something pretty good that I learned. Apart from that, you learned a lot of more things. For example, nowadays people just like do what, like go to Vercel or go to Amplify and just deploy their, let's say for example, React app. Earlier days, I know Heroku spoiled all the college boys and girls because you can just go do 4 clicks and Heroku used to deploy everything. That's not how it works. that's
Yeah.
that's
True.
not even 0% of how it is done. So how deployment things work, things things are like on call stuff comes up into the picture. So I believe you move out of the world of DSA, that's moving
Hmm.
out from one world, but a brand new 7 8 things will initially bombard to you in the initial 2 to 3 months that you have to go through. Then I believe all those people who just rely on YouTube videos face a very hard time, because then in companies you bare minimum will get a dog or get nothing,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
just get
True.
somebody's code whose variable name, if is it is not good, uh, good luck to your rest of the whole day.
Somewhere you will find a comment saying
Yeah,
that do not touch, modify this
yeah.
code. This code works for this and
This
this
in this
scenario.
scenario.
Modify at your own risk.
One more thing that I learned, that like if you read early career programming books like Sumita Arora books and everything that is published in that's published for school students, there they write that comments are used to explain your code and everything. But I realized one thing, that if you wrote bad code, that cannot be
Hmm.
made clean by comments. That you wrote a worse
100%.
code and in comments you explain it. That's not how it is done.
Yeah.
Bare minimum comments are required. If your code requires a comment to be explained, that means it is bad.
Which is very true.
Your code should require comment if and only if it explains some business logic, that
Hmm.
previously it was done and now this is done, kind of like that business logic thing. But to explain
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
algorithm, if you require a comment, you wrote a bad code, man. You wrote a bad
True.
code.
True. Your intent should be the function name.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
intent should be the
If
variable
I
name,
read the
right?
function name, I should not need to read the whole function.
Which is very true. Which is
So
very
these
true.
kind of learnings were there, I believe. Then I believe the more impactful team you go to, the more risky code you touch, it makes you more happy once your code goes through. But trust me, man, if you screw up, there are days when you are like, I am having a low BP. They will kick me out because I screwed this. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that. So I guess life changed quite a lot, and a lot of new things in terms of systems, in terms of coding came into the picture.
Which is very very true, which is very very true. I think this was awesome, man. Like the highlighting and showcasing to the world, which is very very important, boss, in your college, when you are just talking and targeting just the entry point, which is okay, you can jump and you can find a way to get into that. But what after that, right, is just very important.
Yeah.
And if you don't start practicing, then I have seen personally people who are very good at DSA. Frankly speaking, I meet a lot of people, and I know some people from Fang also, they cracked. After they come back and say, boss, I'm getting a lot of FOMO and anxiety because I'm not able to cope up with the expectation which a team is having.
Yeah.
Because team is having a high expectation, you are a super duper when you actually crack the interview, right?
Yeah.
And after, you're not able to understand, boss, what is going on, what
Because
is this
now,
development.
apart from you, everyone is smart because
Everyone is
everyone knows
smart.
the system.
You don't know even the debugging. Boss, how to open this dev tool?
Yeah.
What happens inside the dev tool? I don't know, right?
I believe the biggest pain point comes for a fresher when they for the very first time, see unit tests. You will
You
see a lot of like, I'm not sure if they still exist, but a lot of time, like during when I was learning in 2016-17, a lot of YouTube tutorials when they used to set up, let's say, a Rails project or a React project or something, the
Yeah.
first thing that they used to do was to delete the test files. They used to delete the test folder. That we don't need this.
Yeah.
Trust man, that's the biggest lie of the whole industry. The whole edtech is lying to you. That is the only thing that you should learn first. Trust me, that's the biggest pain for everyone. If you don't know how to write test, like when you do expectation settings, I to specifically mention I need 1 day to implement, 2 days to test. I can't
Yeah.
write it in the same day. So if whatever I'm saying sounds alien to you, don't worry. Land up a job in a, let's say, a MNC or something, you will realize. In startups, I worked with startups as well. For example, at InterviewBit, they don't care about uh, tests. But then there is
Yeah.
another problem that occurs into that picture. They have so bad code. They have so bad code that if some task is given to you to be completed by yourself, then it would be a bit hard for you. For
Yeah.
example, like if you have good unit tests written, then a lot of time what you can do is, if somebody is asking you to debug something, what you can do, you can just try to go make a few changes in the unit test and run the test and see the behavior. You don't have to run the
Interesting.
app. You don't have to run the app. If you have to specifically test a specific behavior, there might be a unit test going on. Just go to the unit test, make a few variable changes, and see what the test reacts with. This app will react in the same way.
Which is very
Yeah.
true.
So but these things doesn't exist in startup, so it's a different scenario. So as I said, like, do focus on tests, man. That would.
Yeah, I can relate it. Like I can relate the startup where I worked on. Mostly what happens, one person is having a lot of context, build a lot of feature and whatnot, person went, code become
Yeah.
legacy. That is a black box which people said there was some genius who was working on
Yeah.
this code. Do not touch because this itself works and it is working from many years.
Yeah.
Dude, don't touch that. And that is a recommendation I've seen people coming from CTO of the startup also,
Yeah.
not nothing bad, but you
That's
don't
how
have an
startups go.
option,
Yeah,
right?
that's how startups go. Yeah.
Cool. So, any advice? I think this was an awesome discussion, especially showing the right reality to the people, boss. What is expected when you join a company? Any advice that you wanted to give to people, especially who are freshers, people who are experienced, who wanted to come and join the Google and work and contribute, not just to get into, but also keep growing.
Yeah, I say this many times. I would like to repeat that again. That companies don't want interview crackers. Maybe you can't solve all the lead code questions. Don't be someone who can solve all the lead code questions but can't build anything. You're getting hired as a software engineer. You're not getting hired as a software lead coder. First thing, I'm not saying doing lead code is bad. I myself did a lot of lead code. Purely support competitive programming and everything. I believe if there is someone who has never done one question on code forces, should not even comment about competitive programming because they don't know the rush. If you have never given a single contest, you don't know anything. Doing lead coding is different. Doing competitive is different. So I'm in favor of all of that. But I'm in favor of one more thing, that companies want good engineers. You
Yeah.
should know how to build and break stuff. There can be a learning curve in after landing into the company, but if you don't know simple stuff like how HTTP works, like a lot of people just keep on making APIs and everything. And if I ask, like, okay, how HTTP works, I have met students who feel like WebSockets run on a different underlying architecture and HTTP works on a different underlying architecture because they have never read that both of them works on TCP, for
Yeah.
example. If you don't know how to deal with databases, this is not going to take you long in the career, right? So I believe you should be a good engineer rather than good interview cracker. Try to build and break stuff. Along with that, focus on your algorithmic skills. Even I cannot solve all 2,800 questions on lead code, of course. Do good amount of lead coding parallelly because you have 4 years. If in 4 years you can't manage dev and DSA, in life you won't be able to manage anything. There are a lot of
Very true.
students who ask now how to manage dev and DSA in college. You have to just manage dev, DSA in college. I'm saying you have to just manage, because once you come into the company, you will realize what all things you have to manage. So I believe,
Yeah.
try to become a good engineer. Try to see how underlying stuff works, how to write a cleaner code. If you're reading about something, do fact checks. Try to do open source contributions as well, to actually see how bigger code bases work, because I believe that's a very good way. Because even if you join a company, what happens is you have a very big code base that you don't know anything about. What do you do there? First thing is, you ask someone that this is the task given to me, can you guide me something, right?
Yeah.
Same thing you have to do in open source. You take a bug and you ask someone that this is the bug that I'm picking, can you guide me? That's how the process works in companies also, and open source also. Try that. If in 4 years you can't try everything, what were you doing, man? Just giving college exam, then though you could have joined a PhD degree as well. So I believe that's my one piece of advice that I would like to give. Because when you land up in a company, you have to build scalable systems. You have to write clean code. You have to write correct code, otherwise your timelines will shift. Your work will determine the output of not just you but your whole team.
Yeah.
Your managers will be answerable for a very long period of time for a lot of things that you will not do correctly. So that's why keep a good balance in your profile. Be a good engineer. Rest, the industry is pretty much welcoming for freshers, so don't worry on that part.
Which is very, very true. I think this was a very awesome discussion where you have showered the right set of things which people should know, not just cracking the interviews, which is awesome. And folks who are watching this, please go and subscribe to the channel of Sanket. He creates an awesome content and a very diverse content basically. If you have not checked, please go and check it out. And yeah, thanks a lot, Sanket, basically for coming and basically talking a lot of interesting stuff over here.
Yeah, thanks, Chirag. I believe this was fun, light-hearted chat, and I would love to come again and maybe discuss some more stuff with you.
Awesome. Let's do this, man.
Yeah.
Okay, see you, man. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye,
Thank
guys. Bye
you.
bye.